that is focused on this person,
Ready
Abraham.
to roll. Command to go.
In chapter 11, we saw that he began
Unit
his
reporting.
journey.
On our way, sir. Ready to
In
roll. Outstanding.
chapter
Ready to roll.
12,
Securing position.
we saw that he, just to clear a matter up for some, the term concubine does not mean a person who is in an inappropriate marital relationship. It means a lesser wife. King David had many concubines, many of whom he never actually even had sexual relationship with. They were just his wives. They were women that he was responsible for. And so this term concubine, Israel, in the Ezekiel 38 and 39 account, and the nations that will be caught by surprise are Sheba and Dedan, which in essence refers to Saudi Arabia. They will not be part of the nation. In fact, they will be surprised by it. And when you study chapter 38 in Ezekiel, you'll find the reference here to the merchants of Tarshish. Most Bible commentators believe that that is referring first to the Phoenicians, but ultimately to the maritime countries of Europe, of which Great Britain is one of them. And their young lions would be those who are the offspring of the colonial Europeans. And so they'll be surprised by this
Destination, Commander?
Magog invasion. Of course, if you want to get more into that, you can go and get our study, check our study out on chapter 38. But the point is, they will be surprised. They will say, have you come to take plunder? Have you gathered your army to take booty, to carry away silver and gold, to take away livestock and goods, to take great plunder? In other words, this group, which idiomatically and location-wise represents Saudi Arabia and probably Europe, will be amazed at this Magog invasion. What are you doing? The second of the 6 sons that seems to... I won't be any exception to that, by the way. But most just move on looking for the substance of the text. And because the New Testament tells us that all Scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable, we want to be careful that we don't go over the top of verses that just because they have names that they might not have something that would be of interest to us. So as we look at chapter 25, we recognize, if you've done your reading, that chapter 25 will bring to a close this section of the book that is focused on this person, Abraham.
Good to go.
In chapter 11, we saw that he began his journey.
On our way, sir. Ready to
In
roll. Outstanding.
chapter
Ready to
12,
roll. Securing position.
we saw that he was given the
Destination,
promise.
Commander? Outstanding.
The promise of
Destination,
God
Commander? Good to go.
was in the first 3 verses. Now the Lord had said to Abraham, get out of your country, from your family, and from your father's house, to a land that I will show you.
Good to go.
And I will make you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. And you shall be a blessing, and I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse him who curses you.
Good to go.
And in you all the
Destination,
families of
Commander?
the earth
On our
shall
way,
be
sir.
blessed. Quite a promise given to a man
Oh, hello,
who,
sir.
by the time he leaves
course.
Ur of the
It's in the
Chaldees,
bank.
is already advancing in age, and his wife, of course, is barren. He finally reaches the promised land, and by the time he arrives there, after the death of his father, he's 75 years old.
Ready.
His
Go
wife,
time.
65. Both of them past the flower of their youth, but not yet past the ability, at least for Abraham, to produce an offspring. In chapter 16, therefore, we see that out of frustration and through the advice of his wife Sarai, Abraham takes her
24/7.
handmaiden Hagar,
Ah, there it is.
and she produces his first offspring, Ishmael. Ishmael is born. At this point, Abraham is 86 years old. By the time we get to chapter 17, God reaffirms his promise with
24/7.
Abraham.
You'll get the cash in a flash.
And at that
Ready
time,
to soar.
Abraham is 99 years
I can
old.
Go anywhere.
You know,
Up and over.
those of you that
All fired
Unit
up.
reporting.
are in
Securing position.
your middle ages or older, know that the last half of your life seems to go a lot faster than the first half of your life.
Got a clear view, sir.
The first half, you just can't wait until, you're 12 years old. Oh, it's so long. Oh, I can't wait till I'm 16. Oh, man, when I'm 18, when I finally get there.
All fired up.
And then it's 21, then it's 30,
Ready
and then
to
it's,
soar.
whoa, Nelly, it's going too
Ready to
fast.
soar. I'll take the high road.
And you find
Igniting
yourself,
boosters.
perhaps, if
Gotta
you're like
stay
me,
low.
people ask you your age sometimes, and you think,
All fired up.
wow,
Riding high.
how old am I? It's really going fast.
Ready
And
to
so you
soar.
can see, as we just have this quick
I can go
overview
anywhere.
and summary
Check
of
out the
Abraham's
view.
life, a lot of things have
Check out the
happened, but
view.
now
Riding
God
high.
is reaffirming His promise that He gave him all the way back in Ur of the Chaldees. He's 99 years
Tanks are
old.
filled.
From the New Testament, we are told
Got a
that
clear view,
physically
sir.
he is
Pushing away.
unable now to procreate.
Rockets
His
in the
wife,
sky.
of course, was barren,
Igniting boosters.
but his body is now
All fired
dead.
up.
And
Got
you
a
can
steady
imagine
flow.
what that means. He
Ready
didn't
to
have the
soar.
capability of
Rockets
procreating anymore.
All fired up. Tanks are filled.
And so in
Got a
chapter
steady flow.
17, we read, when Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am Almighty God, walk before me and be blessed, and I will make my covenant between me and you, and will
Unit
multiply
reporting.
you exceedingly.
Bound forward.
Then Abram fell on his face, and God talked with him, saying, As
All
for me,
fired up.
behold, my covenant
All
is with
fired
you,
up. Clear view, sir.
and you
Pushing
shall be a
away.
father of many nations. No
Ready to
longer
roll.
shall your name be called Abram, but your name
Ready to
shall be
roll.
Abraham.
Let's go.
For I have
Got a
made
clear
you a
view,
father
sir.
of many nations. I will make you exceedingly fruitful, and I will make
Rockets in
nations
the sky.
of you,
Ready to soar.
and
Check out the
kings
view.
shall come
Up
from you. Now,
and
what an
over.
incredible statement. God is making this statement now when Abraham is not only past the flower of his youth, the plant's dead. He is not capable physically of producing that which God is promising. And as we pointed out when we were studying through chapter 17, what a wonderful idiom and image that is of the believer in Jesus Christ. We can only be fruitful by the Spirit of God when we first die to ourselves. When we are not relying upon the abilities that we have. And so Abraham was dead in terms of his capability of fulfilling that which God is promising. So by the time you get to chapter 21, Isaac is born to him through his wife, Sarah. And at that point, Abraham is 100 years old. By the time we get to chapter 23, some 37 years later, Sarah dies at the age of 127.
Ready to roll.
That
Good to
would
go.
make Abraham 137. In chapter 24, we see that Isaac
Unit reporting.
is married to Rebekah. And the reckoning there of his age, Abraham would be 140 years old.
Fuel tanks are filled.
And by the time you finish chapter 24, you see that all that is necessary for God in the long term to fulfill His promise in Abraham
Got a clear
is
view, sir.
finished.
Got a steady flow. Rockets in the
And
sky.
at that point, as you
Riding
close
high.
chapter 24, you would be right to assume that's done now. The offspring is there. Isaac is there. He will carry on and be the one who will be the next to have the promise of God. You would think the story is over, but it isn't. For as we begin in chapter 25, verse 1, Abraham again took a wife,
Up and over.
and her name was Keturah. And she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak,
Everything's made to fit.
and
Need a
Shua.
conversion?
Jokshan begat Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Asherim, Lesherim, and Lemeshim. And the sons of Midian were
Rockets in the sky.
Ephath, Epher, Hanak, Abida, and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah. Now, as you look at this, you wonder to yourself, the guy has to be starting his second century. He's more than 140 years old, and he wants to start another family. He doesn't just start, a little family. He starts another whole group of nations. You see, when God took him from being dead in his flesh and rekindled within him the capacity to procreate with his wife, that procreative ability was still there well past the age of 140 years old. And so the descendants here are interesting. He marries, or takes, we'll see later on, takes as a concubine a woman by the name of Keturah. Her name means incense. In 1 Chronicles chapter 1, verse 32, she's called a concubine. Now, just to clear a matter up for some, the term concubine does not mean a person who is in an inappropriate marital relationship. It means a lesser wife. King David had many concubines, many of whom he never actually even had sexual relationship with. They were just his wives. They were women that he was responsible for. And so this term concubine just simply means, in the broad sense, a woman who is devoted and under the care of the man. As a wife, but not in all circumstances would be one who would necessarily have sexual relationship with and produce offspring. These concubines.
Ready to roll.
She's called a concubine, and she has 6 sons. The first son's name is Zimram, and this word is from the Hebrew root word, whereby we get the word which means singing. And, you sort of allow your imagination to run at this point, and you think to yourself, okay, here's a guy 140, 50 years old, and he's starting life all over again with this woman who her very name is incense, and she was very fragrant or something, a flower. And her first child is Zimram. The second is Jokshan, whose name means one who snares. Now, as I pointed out before, the naming of children is often done in association with some event that takes place at or near their birth. We'll certainly see that with Esau and Jacob and the other children that come to Israel. We see that circumstances that are happening, the children are named something associated with that circumstance. And so we see that the second son is one who snares. Medan is contention. You can imagine what that child was like. Either there was contention with the child or contention with the wife. It's unclear at this point, possibly both. Midian means strife. Ishbak means he will leave. Beginning at the story here, Abraham, you just sort of wonder. It starts out, he's singing, la la la, this is really great. Then contention, strife, he will leave. And Shua is humbled. The 6 sons of Keturah. You wonder if they don't describe the last 35 years of Abraham's life. Having been really complete in terms of God's promise, he then engages in a relationship with someone who, as we will see from the study, produces nothing but individuals who become an enemy of his offspring. And by the naming of his children, you would almost get the sense that these weren't happy times in Abraham's life. Now, of 2 of the 6 sons, they have their genealogies extended. And again, nothing is there by chance.
On the go.
We look at Jokshan, whose name means snare, or one who snares. And he is the son of Sheba. It means, of course, in Hebrew, 7. And this will be the home of the queen of Sheba. In 1 Kings chapter 10, there is this queen who comes from the land of Sheba to question Solomon. And there will be a relationship between Israel and the land of Sheba. Now, Many commentators for many years believed that this was referring to the land of Ethiopia. But within the last 25 years, most archaeological finds have determined that the land of Sheba is the land associated with Yemen, this southern part of Saudi Arabia. It just happens to be across the Red Sea from Ethiopia and Somalia. But this is the area that most archaeologists believe is this land of Sheba. The second descendant of Keturah, which seems to have an offspring that is where we see the genealogy given there, is Dedan.
Transformer panels in order. On the go.
Sheba, Dedan is the capital of Arabia. It was the capital of Arabia until the 1st century A.D. It's now called Al-Ula, and it's on the western region of Saudi Arabia. It's a small, uninhabited town. In fact, archaeologists referred to it as the most ancient ghost town in the world. Apparently, it's a very peculiar place. There are fully built houses that date back 2,000 years, and many of them with original roofs. But the city was vacated during the time of the Muslim conquests, and so it was, up until the 1st century, the capital of Arabia. When we look at the prophetic destiny of Sheba and Dedan, we recognize that their reference here is not simply because Moses was giving us insight into 2 offspring of one of his 6 sons. Oh, isn't that interesting? Why didn't we talk about the rest of them? Because Sheba and Dedan have a unique destiny in prophecy. We're told in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 that during that Magog invasion, they will be the ones who are surprised by the invasion. Chapter 38, verse 13, Sheba and Dedan, the merchants of Tarshish, and all their young lions will say to you, that is the invasion group of Gog, Magog, Rosh, Tubal, Tomagar, Libya, Iran, Persia. All of these nations will have created a confederacy to come against Israel in the Ezekiel 38 and 39 account. And the nations that will be caught by surprise are Sheba and Dedan, which in essence refers to Saudi Arabia. They will not be part of the invasion. In fact, they will be surprised by it. And when you study chapter 38 in Ezekiel, you'll find the reference here to the merchants of Tarshish. Most Bible commentators believe that that is referring first to the Phoenicians, but ultimately to the maritime countries of Europe, of which Great Britain is one of them. And their young lions would be those who are the offspring of the colonial Europeans. And so they'll be surprised by this Magog invasion. Of course, if you want to get more into that, you can go and check our study out on chapter 38. But the point is, they will be surprised. They will say, have you come to take plunder? Have you gathered your army to take booty, to carry away silver and gold, to take away livestock and goods, to take great plunder? In other words, this group, which idiomatically and location-wise represents Saudi Arabia and probably Europe, will be amazed at this Magog invasion. What are you doing? The second of the 6 sons that seems to have an exploded genealogy is Midian. Midian probably is the most notable of all the sons of Keturah. Midian, whose name means strife, has a son named Ephah, who the meaning of that is gloomy. Epher is the word gazelle. Hanok is actually the same word as Enoch. it's the word teaching. Abida is my Father knows, and Elda is God has known. When we look at this group of Midian and the people who come from him, historians tell us that the Midianites encamped on the eastern shore of the Gulf of Aqaba, this area of Midian. And this will be the area that Moses will flee to when he leaves Egypt. Midian has a lot of different contacts with Israel throughout its history. It will be Midianites, Genesis chapter 37, that carried Joseph, that younger brother, that carries Joseph to Egypt and sells him to Potiphar. In Exodus chapter 2, it will be the land of Midian that provides shelter for Moses when he flees from the face of Pharaoh. In the book of Numbers, we see that the Midianites will continually oppose the children of Israel. They will attempt to prevent them from moving through their land. And in Judges chapters 6 to 8, of course, what they are most noted for is the fact that they are the group that are defeated by Gideon's army. So the Midianites, this offspring, and these people who live on this eastern shore of the Gulf of Aqaba. Verse 5, and Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, but Abraham gave gifts to the sons of the concubines which Abraham had. And while he was still living, he sent them eastward away from Isaac his son to the country of the east. Now, as we consider the wealth of Abraham, we need to understand that from the biblical text, it's quite easy for us to come away with the opinion that Abraham was certainly one of the most, if not the most, certainly one of the most wealthy and powerful men in that region.
Tools of the trade, on the go.
After the split up with Lot going down into the valley where the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah were, when those cities were besieged and the captives taken, Lot and his family being taken with them, news came to Abraham, and Abraham was able to muster 318 trained soldiers who were born in his house. So he had a standing army. These weren't just sheep herders. These were people who had the specific responsibility of taking care of the matters around Abraham. So it would constitute quite a large company of people.
Running smooth.
Later on, we know that Abraham has a number of interludes with the Philistines, and they are afraid to cross him. In fact, at the well of Beersheba, when the king of the Philistines, a man by the title of Abimelech, is told by Abraham, hey, your men are trying to take my well. Abimelech, this Philistine, immediately backs off. Ooh, didn't know that. And so they make a covenant once again to make sure that Abraham has the well. And so he has substantial wealth, and God has continued to prosper him. And please note at this point that as Abraham is nearing his death, he gives all to Isaac. The precedence of this and the preference of this is important for you to understand what is about to take place. Then we are told he gives gifts. Now, how can that be? I've just given everything to Isaac, and now he is giving gifts to the other children. The sense of the text is that Abraham, having given everything to Isaac, is now giving gifts from the inheritance that is Isaac's. And that becomes important when you consider the type and shadow that is here. We see, just like the Father and the Son, the Father gives everything to the Son, and all gifts are given through the Son. John 16:15 tells us that all things that the Father has are mine. Therefore, I said that He, in this context speaking of the Holy Spirit, will take of what is mine and declare it to you. And so there, in keeping with the type and shadow, of Abraham being a type of the father, Isaac being a type of the son, even in this last will and testament of Abraham, there is an acting out of that which the Father does through the Son. Everything is given to the Son, and it is through the Son that the gifts are given.
Need a conversion? On the go.
Now,
IFB ready.
of these sons of the concubines, they're all sent away. The 6 sons of Keturah all had first hand of God through Abraham. This is important, especially when you consider the fact that in later generations, these same people will be judged by God. And the judgment that is passed over them is a judgment that is right and just, because God has already revealed Himself. They have the same capacity for following after the truth as Isaac and his generation has. They all had first-hand knowledge of God through Abraham. They were all given gifts which came from Isaac. And yet we will see, history will show us that they all become enemies of Israel. All of them. None of them become an ally. None of them rely upon their connection with Isaac and all that God has done in him and through him. And they ignore and walk away from the God of Abraham. As we continue in verse 7, this is the sum of the years of Abraham's life which he lived, 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried, and Sarah his wife. As we come to the burial of Abram, we see that he is put in the same tomb that he purchased for Sarah. Genesis chapter 3. It's near the city of Hebron today. And over the site of the caves of Machpelah is, as we showed you before, this mosque, which is set over the top of these 2 caves. Notice, of all of the sons, only Isaac and Ishmael are there to bury their father. The sense of the text is, though he has produced offspring through Keturah, none of them, by the time he dies, have anything to do with him. They've taken their gifts and they've left. They don't even have the respect to come and participate in this burial. Now at this point, Isaac is 75 years old. And we see that Ishmael is 88 years old. So they're getting on in age now. And so old men seem to bury old men, is the sense of it. And all the youngsters, the ones who would have been in their late teens, early 20s, at most, early 30s, they're not around. They're off in the world. Verse 11, and it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt at Beer Lahai Roi. Isaac is blessed. This will be a theme that we will see reoccurring throughout Scripture, the blessing of God. He is living by a place called Beer Lahai Roi. You remember that in Genesis chapter 16, verse 13, that this area was named that by Hagar. She, being pregnant, was fleeing from the face of her mistress Sarai, and there God met her. And when she recognized that God was interested in providing for her, she then declared that place as being the well of the living one, seeing me. She had a personal interlude with God, in the same way, to some degree, that Abraham and others had a personal interlude with God. And so the name, Beer Lahai Roi.
Aegis reporting. Rudder
This is
set.
also the place where, at the end of
Allied
chapter
cruiser
24,
ready.
here is where
Operation.
Isaac meets
Plotting forward.
Rebekah.
Scanning for aircraft.
And as my wife pointed
Navigating
out to
water
me
space.
after I'd finished the study,
Navigating water space.
that after going through chapter 24, I left out and didn't emphasize the most important point in the entire book. She met me in the hall and says, "You forgot the most important statement in the whole chapter." And I said, "What's that?" And she says, "And Isaac loved Rebekah." How wonderful it is to remember that it wasn't just a story of Rebekah's obedience and love of Isaac before she even met him,
Unit promoted.
but after she is given to Isaac, Isaac loves her,
Adjusting for missile
just as
systems.
Christ loves
Operational.
the church.
Guidance system set.
And so it's at this place, the well of the living one seeing me, is where Isaac is living at this time.
Scanning for aircraft.
Everything about this man is emblematic at this point of Jesus Christ. As I pointed out before, he is the only one of the patriarchs who never leaves the promised land. His bride is brought to him after he is offered up in type and shadow on Mount Moriah by his father. He then disappears from the text and reappears when his bride Rebekah, who's symbolic of the church, when she is presented
Protector of the Allied fleet. Rudder
Excuse
missile
me.
systems. Operational.
to him.
Unit ready.
We notice that here we are told in the scripture that Isaac is blessed. There is a real blessing when you realize that your life is being looked after by
Protector
God.
of the Allied fleet.
Psalm 1 reminds us of that so powerfully. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law he meditates day and night. He should be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that brings forth its fruit in its season, whose leaf also shall not wither, and whatever he does shall prosper. Oh, how often people want to see prosperity in their life, physically and spiritually. But they won't take the time to be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. They spend their time getting counsel from the ungodly, walking in the paths of sinners, sitting in the seat of the scornful. And then somehow magically, instantaneously, they're supposed to experience spiritual prosperity in their life. Notice that as this declaration is made concerning Isaac, and God blessed him, where is he living? He's at the place of the well of the living one who sees me. He's in contact and fellowship with God. And so God is able to bless him and take care of him and provide for him. So in verse 12, we now read, "Now this is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's maidservant, bore to Abraham. And these were the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael was Nebaioth, then Kedar, Adbel, Mibshan, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadar, Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these were their names by their towns and their settlements, 12 princes according to their nations. These are the years of the lives of Ishmael, 137 years, and he breathed his last, and he died, and he gathered to his people. They dwelt from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Egypt, as you go down to Assyria. He died in the presence of all his brethren." Now, as we look at the descendants of Ishmael,
Gotcha. Nothing to stop me.
we recognize that the mother of Ishmael, Hagar, had been given a specific promise by God. As she fled from Sarah, God tells her, Genesis chapter 16, verse 11, "The angel of the Lord said to her, Behold, you are with child. You shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren." We also see from Scripture that not only did God promise to Hagar that he would provide for her and her son. Abraham had a love for Ishmael. Genesis 17. Then God said to Abraham, "As for Sarah your wife, you shall not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name. And I will bless her and also give you a son by her. Then I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of peoples shall be from her." Then Abraham fell on his face and laughed and said in his heart, "Shall a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? And shall Sarah, who is 90 years old, bear a child?" And Abraham said to God, "Oh, that Ishmael might live before you." Then God said, "No, Sarah your wife shall bear you a son, and you shall call his name Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his descendants after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him, and will multiply, and will make him fruitful, and multiply him exceedingly. And he shall beget 12 princes. I will make him a great nation. But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah shall bear to you at this set time next year. As we look at these 12 sons of Ishmael,
let's take the scenic route.
This man whose name means God will hear, we see that his eldest son is called Naboth.
Let's get to it.
It means fruitfulness. Kedar means darkness. Adbel means chastened of God.
We're on our way.
Mibsam means sweet odor.
See the countryside.
Mishma means hearing. Duma means silent.
How about an
You wonder
adventure?
sometimes if this isn't simply a summary of the life of Ishmael.
Mean, green, and unseen.
We see that he died in the presence of all of his brethren, and the destiny of his descendants, well, they dwell from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Egypt, as you go down toward Assyria. Havilah, of course, as we pointed out before, is Arabia. Shur is the eastern border of Egypt. So as you look at this Middle Eastern region, we're talking about an area from the middle of the Sinai Peninsula through predominantly the land of Jordan. This is this area going up to what we know as Syria today, but that would be ultimately the land of Assyria. The prophetic destiny of these sons is also interesting. We are told, as God speaks to Hagar, that they will be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. He shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And as we consider the history of the Ishmaelites in this area, there has never once grown out of that region a great king or a great nation. They have always been tribal warlords fighting against one another. We see that ultimately that which unifies them is their desire and their design to seek the destruction of Israel. Again, as we consider the Middle East, we see that the land is surrounded by, ultimately, the descendants of Ishmael and the descendants of Keturah. They're all there with the single objective, 400 million
Panels charged.
Arab-speaking
Distortion error.
Muslims who come from Egypt, Arabia, Syria, Persia, Iraq, all around, all interested in the destruction of the land of Israel. That's their near-term destiny. But when we look at the Scriptures as to their long-term destiny, Isaiah chapter 60 gives us some interesting insight. Turn to chapter 60 with me, if you will. Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1, we read, "Arise, shine, for your light has come.
Transformer panels in order. Everything's made to fit.
And the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and deep darkness the people. But the Lord will arise over you, and his glory will be seen upon you. The Gentiles shall come to your light, and the kings to the brightness of your rising. Lift up your eyes all around and see. They all gather together to come to you. Your son shall come from afar, and your daughter shall be nursed at your side. Then you shall see and become radiant, and your heart shall swell with joy. Because the abundance of the sea shall be turned to you, the wealth of the Gentiles shall come to you. The multitude of camels shall cover your land. The dromedaries of Midian and Ephah and those of Sheba shall come. They shall bring gold and incense. They shall proclaim the praises of the Lord. All the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together to you. The rams of Nabal shall minister to you. They shall ascend with acceptance on my altar, and I will glorify the house of my God. Who are these who fly like a cloud, and like doves to their roosts? Surely the coastline shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish will come first, to bring your sons from afar, their silver and their gold with them, to the name of your God, the Lord your God, and to the Holy One of Israel, because he has glorified you. The sons of foreigners shall build up your walls, and their kings shall minister to you. For in my wrath I struck you, but in my favor I have had mercy upon you. Therefore your gates shall be open continually, and they shall not be shut day or night. Then men may bring to you the wealth of the Gentiles and their kings in procession. All the nations and kingdom, for the nation and the kingdom which will not serve you shall perish, and those